Good evening, folks. It's Goddle here. I'm coming to you from a reasonably cold and wet Cape Town. And this is ENTP 7312. And this is our national support session for assignment 1. What I'm going to try to do is go through the assignment, give you some background information, tell you what you need to do. I'll point you in some directions in terms of Neck and Murray, your prescribed textbook. I'll tell you what I'm expecting from you, what you should do, etc. Basically, if you've listened to this recording, you have a way of doing this assignment. I know the recording is early. I know the session is almost 3 weeks ahead. If you see on the slide here, 18 September is what the current due date is. Please check your PAS. I'm not responsible if they change the date or make it earlier or so on, but the last PAS I saw it was 18 September. So you might wonder, but this is a bit early to do this. Why so early with this? Because I don't see you next week. And week after that gives you, I think it's about 10 days to be able to complete the assignment, which is more than enough, I think, to complete the assignment. But this assignment is one of those that requires quite a bit of thinking work and quite a bit of planning work on your side. And I want you to give you enough time. I know for many of you, this is the final stretch of your degree. And I want you to have the time to be able to not only complete the degree successful, definitely that, but also to enjoy what you're doing, to have a little bit of time to display the knowledge that you've been able to gather over the couple of years that you've been busy with your degree. Okay, so assignment 1 is 25%, so it's a quarter of your overall mark. On a side note, as you know, 10% of your mark is your ICE tasks. I have put the ICE tasks up. They basically exercises that are already embedded on VC Learn that you need to go do. Please, folks, do those exercises as you work through the work, and I'll tell you why I'm asking you. If you've done those exercises, then a lot of the stuff in the assignment is already easier to master. I've tried to set it up in such a way that not only is it ICE tasks that'll give you marks, because obviously we want to make sure that you get enough marks to pass, but also that it's something that'll help you in terms of your assignments and the POE that you have got to do. But okay, so 25% on this assignment. Work through learning unit 1 to 3. Go have a look at the recordings. I'm not specifically going to mention the recordings any further, but there is quite a lot of the work has already been covered through the various recordings that we've made. So if you get stuck, chances are there's a solution in the recording that you can go listen to. I think there's 3 or 4 recordings up. So please don't hesitate to listen to the recordings. I've also given you my email right at the beginning, and I'll give it to you right at the end as well. This assignment calls for 2,000 to 2,500 words. It's very tight. For what the hoops that they're asking you to jump through in that amount of words is difficult. And students regularly complain about that. I understand your complaints, understand where it comes from. But also consider one of the outcomes that you want to achieve in any undergrad degree is you want to learn to write and to write succinctly and to be able to say what you need to say and do it in as few words as possible. In other words, in straightforward, straight up language. And that's why there's a word limit of 2,000 to 2,500 words. I didn't see anywhere where it calls for sources. A successful, I mean a decent mark, distinction level mark for this assignment, I'd expect 10 sources. You'd find most of the information in Neck and Murray, but the trick is to find it there. If they talk about the business model canvas, for example, there's 100 other sources that talk about the business model canvas. So use Neck and Murray as your departure point, but go look for other sources and support what you're saying from Neck and Murray or from your prescribed textbook with other sources as well to show the marker, in this case me, that you have read a bit wider and so on. Those of you that are doing research will understand the importance of reading a bit wider than just sticking to your textbook. If you only use your textbook, you should expect to get a mark that reflects the minimum amount of work that has been put in, because by just using the textbook, you're not really putting in a lot of work. Okay, so the first part is going to look familiar from first semester. You need to prepare a blue sky entrepreneurial venture that solves one of the 17 sustainable development goals. They're the 17 sustainable goals in a graphic. I'm going to put up another slide which talks to goals 1 through 7. It explains them in a bit more detail. Please pause there, read through them. I'm not going to go through each of the goals. I think you're all capable of reading it. And then the rest of the goals from 9 to 17, there they are. Once again, please pause and read through those goals so that you know what the goals mean. And then if you're interested in one of those goals, please then Google the goal and look a bit deeper into what it contains. Obviously, in an exercise like this, you're not going to be able to address the complete goal. So, for example, goal 13, climate action, take urgent action to combat climate change and its impacts. You're not going to be able to stop global warming, but you may want to do something that will address a part of that. And there's something we'll get to now. So what is it that you actually need to do? So please, pause, read through all 17 goals, and then read up on one of those goals so that you have a bit more information. Okay, so what do you need to do? You need to prepare an investor proposal for a blue sky entrepreneurial venture that solves one of the 17 sustainable development goals. Now, blue sky ventures are a very peculiar, very specific type of venture. Blue sky is typically used through brainstorming. I'm stumbling across my words. Is used through brainstorming and thinking about ideas and exploring ideas and expanding on those ideas and thinking, but how can I make this bigger? How can I make this faster? How can I make this better? How can I be really audacious about this, right? And not limiting yourself. Now, I've taken from the textbook gives you, sorry, not the textbook, the assignment itself, the POE, gives you, I think, about 4 or 5 sources on blue sky. And I've taken this quote from one of them and I've slightly modified. The aim is to identify an entrepreneurial venture that is implausible and overly optimistic, which is out of touch with the entrepreneur's reality. And I've inserted not too implausible, not too overly optimistic, nor which is totally out of the touch with the entrepreneur's reality. And why I've put those not twos and I've limited you a bit in terms of blue sky is that to make it easier. Blue sky venture is at a basic level. Let me give you an example. To take, for example, in farming, to take chickens and feed them a high protein type of diet, and the cages in which you keep the chicken is built on top of ponds in which you keep fish. And the excrement that hasn't got all the protein absorbed from the feed falls into the pond, and the fish will devour that, and they will grow and use that as food. And the water you'll use to irrigate and recycle the water, pumping it back into but to irrigate an aquaponics or hydroponics type of system where you're growing plants that you convert into the high protein food that you feed the chickens, so the as much waste is recycled as possible. Now that's a very basic blue sky idea because that has been done before, and the whole idea of blue sky is that you don't do it. But in terms of farming, that's quite radical. Give you another blue sky idea, which is also an idea that has been thought about and has been come up with, is to build a train or a capsule or something that you can travel in that has magnets underneath it and hovers, because as you know, magnets opposites attract. but similar. So two positive sides of a magnet push away from each other, and use that to hover this vehicle. And the vehicle is inside a tube, and you create a vacuum in the tube, and this sucks this vehicle along the tube at very high speed. And you use that for high speed transport. I think that's called the Hyperloop, if I'm not mistaken, is the name of it. But it's something way out different about how we normally think about transport. So those are the type of things that are blue sky thinking. Important to keep in mind about this. You may not use any ideas from your ENTP 7311 assignments. You may not suggest an app as you did in the ENTP 7311. Part of my job is to go back, go look at 7311, what you did there, and to confirm that this idea is a new blue sky idea and not an idea that you previously used in your previous assignments. So thinking about this blue sky venture and writing a proposal for investors on this venture, you'll realize why I'm doing this now and not waiting until a couple of days before, 10 days or whatever the last time is I see you before the assignment is due. At that stage, the last time I see you before the assignment, I'll make some time and ask for questions and make sure that everybody's on the right track. I'm not going to repeat this lesson, but I will make time for questions or discussions around the assignment at that point. But I want to give you enough time to be able to think. So, okay, so first thing that I need to do, I need to come up with an idea, a blue sky idea, something that's really big, audacious, out there. And the idea needs to be big. The thing that you're doing doesn't need to be big. Please figure out the distinction between those two things. Okay, so practically, what do I need to do? You need to come up with an idea. Get the idea, think through the idea, mull through the idea, have the idea clear in your head. And then that's what the layout's going to look like: a cover page, an intro, a body that answers 3 questions that are in the assignment. Now, I'm not going to give you type out the 3 questions here. You need to open the assignment and look at them while you're listening to the recording. Then create a conclusion, references at least 10, and appendices if you really need them. Don't insert pictures into your assignment. It's not academic, especially pretty pictures. If you feel you need to put a diagram in there, or you feel there is a graph or an illustration that you really need, as a matter of fact, there is a place where you might want to, well, you need to do possibly an illustration, then yes, that's fine. But don't put stuff in that you're doing to make it pretty. Do stuff that makes a difference in terms of the academic work that you're trying to produce. Okay, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go through the individual questions and tell you what the body part needs to do. So firstly, obviously, you need to do an introduction. I always advise students to write the introduction at the end. So write your body, write your conclusion, then go write your introduction. Because then you know what you're introducing. You can't introduce something that if you haven't written it yet. So I'd always leave the introduction to the last, and then in the introduction you basically give an overview of what it is that your idea is about. So the first thing you need to do is name, logo, and a slogan. Guys, I'm not afraid to address the elephant in the room. If you use AI, ChatGPT, or one of those things, I'm probably going to catch you, and I'm probably going to report you. We have got ways and means of seeing that you're using that. You'll be surprised how good the detection tools are. However, you've got to come up with a name, a logo, and a slogan. Use AI for that. Create your idea and then go to one of the AI bots and ask them, this is the business, you need a name, a logo, and a slogan. Please generate 5 names for me, 5 logos, and 5 slogans. And then read through those. Don't copy and paste them in. Read through those, look at those, merge them, and then come up with a nice name, a logo, and a slogan. That is how you're supposed to use AI. You shouldn't be using AI to write stuff for you. You should be using AI to assist your thinking, to develop your thinking further. You should be doing the writing. So then 1.2, what is the problem? In other words, you start with the MDG. you state what the MGD is, you say what does it want to address, and you describe that MDG. As I said just now, if we take the one about global warming, you're not going to be able to stop global warming, but you may have an idea that addresses part of global warming. So, yeah, you will say what the MDG is, and then you'll describe the MDG in terms of the part of it that you are going to address. So break it down. Now, I know a couple of you are probably thinking, geez, this oak's mad, saying we need to use 10 references. You can use 2 references just in discussing the MDG. Go to the MDG document, reference it from there. Then find somebody else that's talking about your MDG and reference that as well, 2 references down. So don't be scared of references. Don't be afraid to read. And then the third part of the question 1 is, how will your solution address the problem? So you've now given me what the MDG is. You just described in 1.2 in your context, what is it that you want to talk about in terms of this MDG? And 1.3, you're telling me how you will address that problem. So when I move on to question 2, I understand what you are proposing, and I understand the problem and the problem that you are solving. You need to know that I need to know that when I'm finished with question 1. So question 2, we get a bit more into the meat. What's the customer value proposition, or CVP, of your solution? That's dealt with in section 5.3 of your textbook. And basically, customer value proposition, I've spoken about it before, is simply, what is the value that I, as the customer, am getting out of your product? In other words, why would I want to buy it? Right? Why would I want to purchase it? Remember, we're talking to investors here. So why would I want to put money into that? Am I, as the investor, going to get a benefit because it's possible? Or is this an opportunity for me to invest in a product that's got a great value proposition, and I'm going to make money from the people that exploits that value proposition? So depending on which approach you're taking, if you're going to want to show that the investor themselves are going to get a profit out of it, or that you want to show that the investor's money will make this product available for other customers and they will profit in that manner, up to you. But you need to show which way you're going to go there. There's different types of CVPs. There's 3 types. There's an okay one, a good one, and a brilliant one. Use that gold standard one. Use the best one and describe your CVP in terms of that. And then there's various segments or market types described in section 5.4 of your textbook. And I don't mind telling you where to find these in the textbook, because you need to go read about them. You then need to find them in other textbooks. Remember, 10 references in other textbooks. And then you have to apply them. To tell me what the textbook says or tell me what your other sources says is great. It gives me a little bit of background. But the meaty part, the chunky part, is that part that you're going to apply it to your case, to your product. So always give me a couple of sentences in theory and then apply. The meat on the bone is an application. And then how was the idea generated? So you'll know how you generated an idea. But the assignment mentions things like alertness, prior knowledge, and pattern recognition, which are ways in which a person can be made aware of an idea. Go read up about those in your text, see what other texts say about it, and then decide how this was developed. It doesn't have to be one of those. It can be an amalgamation of them, and there are a couple of others as well. But in many cases, it is more than one of those. Then you've got to do a so-called paper test. So paper testing is part of prototyping. So prototypes is where we develop a product in our minds. We think up, we brainstorm, we talk, and we develop a product. And then we go and we build the product, sometimes out of cardboard, sometimes the actual product, a demo model, so that we've got a prototype to see if the product can be built to do what we say it's going to do. Now, that's a very expensive process. So in section 7.2, they give you a brief part on paper tests. It's way too little for you to be able to do anything with. But it gives you enough background so that you can find other sources on a paper test. And what a paper test is, instead of actually building the prototype, there's various ways in which you can, by drawing, writing, and that type of thing, and I don't want to give away too much because you need to go read about this, you can relatively cheaply get to a test of the product and just on paper see, is it going to work or not? And you've got to show me that. You've got to show me on paper, is this a viable idea or not? Then the last part, question 3, is the ideate model, which is identify, discovery, enhance, anticipate, and target and evaluation. If you listen to recordings, you'll know what this is about. And you need to apply that to your idea. So you've got to go through that process, the ideate process, with your product and thinking and working with your product. Finally, your conclusion. And as I said, you do the 3 questions and then you write your conclusion. Basically, in the conclusion, you're writing to say, so the idea briefly again is this, and this is why it's a good idea. And then you go back and you write your introduction. I am a stickler for references. I think a number of you have had me in the previous semester, so you know this by now. I've got no qualms in taking 5 or 10% off if your referencing is not right. You are in your final year. A third-year student shouldn't know how to reference. Your sources must be academic. They must correctly in-text reference and be correct in the reference list. If you don't know how to do this, or you've never been forced to do this, please contact the library at the online campus. They will be more than happy to guide you and assist you. You can book a session and they will help you. You're also welcome to contact me and I'll look for the referencing guide and I'll even email that to you. So yes, that's it. I don't know if there's any questions. I'm happy to take any questions now. I'm also happy to take questions by email. Please just, if you do send me an email is the best way to get a hold of me. Just make sure you put ENTP 73211, whatever it is, W in the subject line so I know which subject we're talking about. Are there any questions? Anything I can clarify? Anything I can explain further than this? Okay, folks. Then I'm going to call it a night. These are unfortunately reasonably short because very few of you attend these. And typically these are twice the length when we've got a group of 10 students in the class and they're all asking questions about it. But as I say, I am available for questions. I don't mind answering your questions via email. If I have to speak to you and we have to do a call, I'm also open to doing that. So yes, please feel free to contact me. And I hope that once you've listened to this, it's clear to you what you need to do. And I wish you all the best with this first assignment. Good luck and cheers.